This video is sponsored by Storyblocks. Get unlimited stock media downloads at one set price using my link in the description. We tend to view the mind as something that produces things. Thoughts, concepts, perceptions. In a relative sense, this may be true. But perhaps in a deeper, more accurate sense, it is actually the opposite that is true. Rather than producing, perhaps the mind is primarily reducing. That is, it's taking the vast ocean of potential mental awareness and ability, a capacity to grasp and interface with reality as it is in full unadulterated form, and filtering it into a tiny narrow trickle, like a water pressure reducing valve turned almost all the way down. Consciousness would thus not really be the source of mental phenomena or the access point to reality, but rather, it would be the filter that largely keeps us from these things. In the words of writer and philosopher Aldous Huxley, referring to the full potentiality of the mind using the term mind at large, he writes, "Insofar as we are animals, our business is, at all costs, to survive. To make biological survival possible, mind at large has to be funneled through the reducing valve of the brain and nervous system. What comes out at the other end is a measly trickle of the kind of consciousness which will help us to stay alive on the surface of this particular planet." Huxley is most widely known for his fiction novels, his most famous being, by far, Brave New World. However, throughout his life, he also published many profound works of nonfiction and philosophy. Though they are often overshadowed by his novels, his nonfiction works are deeply profound and continue to impact various fields of philosophy, mystical studies, social criticism, and wider conversations around consciousness. With what seems to have been a heightened perceptiveness of both the exterior world, society, science, technology, and politics, as well as the interior world, ontology, metaphysics, consciousness, and mysticism, Huxley's literary explorations and philosophical insights extend in nearly every direction, out and in, past, present, and future, material and ethereal. In the realm of philosophy and mysticism, one of Huxley's most notable contributions is popularizing a unique school of thought known as perennialism. The origins of perennialism go as far back as prehistoric shamanic traditions, with early expressions and practices revealing the fundamental intuition at the core of the philosophy. However, in terms of a school of thought, it only properly took form during the Renaissance and early modern periods, with philosophers like Marsilio Ficino and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz spearheading its development. Not only does perennialism go back into deep history, but it also spans across the entire globe, with touchstones in countless philosophies, ideologies, and religions. This vastness is possible because perennialism's central doctrine is that there is a timeless wisdom that is accessible to all humans and universal to all philosophical and mystical traditions. Perennialism's primary focus is on the examination and synthesis of the truths and wisdoms that seem to surface independently across time and place, which share remarkably similar metaphors, interpretations, or insights, despite having never been in contact. In perennialist thought, these consistent truths are referred to as philosophia perennis. Though it should be noted that there is much debate surrounding the significance and validity of the overlapping nature of these truths, and there is no consensus on the precise meaning of philosophia perennis. Discussing the term, historian of philosophy Charles B. Schmidt writes, "Although there is no agreement on the precise meaning of the phrase, it is usually taken to indicate that some sort of continuous theme runs throughout the history of philosophy, that certain enduring and lasting truths are recognizable in the philosophical writings of all historical periods. Philosophia perennis is a philosophy which endures. Its truth is considered to persist from generation to generation, long after ephemeral philosophical fads and fashions come and go." Potential examples of philosophia perennis are not especially hard to find, though they are rarely simple or literal. In his book, The Perennial Philosophy, published in 1945, Huxley draws parallels between Eastern and Western mystics, from the Upanishads to Meister Eckhart. Though the equivalences he makes are often interpretive rather than literal, he attempts to explore and synthesize the underlying ontological and moral principles shared by humanity's various traditions. Perennialists, like Huxley, argue that these significant overlaps reveal an underlying, unchanging metaphysical reality. Huxley explains philosophia perennis as the metaphysic that recognizes a divine reality substantial to the world of things and lives and minds. The psychology that finds in the soul something similar to, or even identical with, divine reality. The ethic that places man's final end in the knowledge of the immanent and transcendent ground of all being. The thing is immemorial and universal. Whether these universals truly point to a timeless metaphysical reality or are just expressions of the tendencies of the human brain and physiology which have remained largely unchanged over the course of human evolution, is up for debate. It is possible that these similar ideas, metaphors, insights, and interpretations are no different than the similarities between weapons, like spears and clubs, and tableware, like bowls and spoons, found across different times and places in human history, despite having never contacted or influenced each other. Like spears and spoons, these truths and insights could merely be the manifestations of the commonalities of the brain interfacing with the commonalities of the world. Imprints and filters of the mind, pressing out the same shapes and designs made by and for the world. Regardless of any metaphysical truth, the vast apparent consistencies across mystic and philosophical traditions are certainly profound. At the very least, it signifies a potential realm of ideas, insights, and wisdom that appear extraordinarily robust, intersubjective truths, and perhaps even objective truths that seem immune to the oscillations of the world and civilization, to progress, science, technology, scale, and awareness, as well as their counterparts. For Huxley, however, as a self-described perennialist, there is a single unified eternal divine reality that underpins everything. And crucially, this realm is accessible. There are methods of contemplation and modes of altered consciousness that, according to him, can open the doors of the mind, or the valves, and reveal the perennial truth. The problem, however, and why we can't ordinarily tap into this realm of reality, according to Huxley, lies in the way our consciousness is mediated by the brain. We cannot use our ordinary consciousness to access this higher realm, because that very consciousness is what veils it. Huxley's long-standing fascination with the mind was only further enhanced after taking a dose of mescaline, a psychedelic compound found in certain cacti, which he took under the supervision of a psychiatrist in 1953. This experience, along with other psychedelic experiences he underwent, seemed to him to unveil his normal consciousness and loosen the filtering functions of the brain. The results revealed to him what he described as reality in a fuller, unmediated, boundaryless form. Referring to one of his experiences, he writes, "I was sitting in my study, looking intently at a small glass vase. The vase contained only 3 flowers. I had been struck by the lively dissonance of its colors. But that was no longer the point. I was not looking now at an unusual flower arrangement. I was seeing what Adam had seen on the morning of his creation, the miracle, moment by moment, of naked existence." Huxley would go on to express what he formed as his theory of the mind in his essays, The Doors of Perception, published in 1954, and Heaven and Hell, published in 1956. Drawing on the theories of philosophers C.D. Broad and Henri Bergson, Huxley argues that the mind's primary function, as mediated by the brain and nervous system, is to reduce potential awareness, not increase it. In the words of C.D. Broad, which Huxley cites directly, the function of the brain and nervous system and sense organs is in the main eliminative and not productive. Each person is at each moment capable of remembering all that has ever happened to him and of perceiving everything that is happening everywhere in the universe. The function of the brain and nervous system is to protect us from being overwhelmed and confused by this mass of largely useless and irrelevant knowledge, by shutting out most of what we should otherwise perceive or remember at any moment, and leaving only that very small and special selection which is likely to be practically useful. According to this view, the brain works to filter and reduce a sort of ocean of reality into little drips of experiences and thoughts, primarily in the form of symbols and concepts, so that we can interface with the world more effectively and efficiently. It is merely an evolutionary process doing its job, and what we are left with, as Huxley put it, is a measly trickle of consciousness. We taste test the droplets of the mystical oneness of all things, our thirst remaining forever unquenched. Huxley argues, however, that through certain forms of inner experience and contemplation, like meditation, prayer, aesthetic observation, or mystical engagement, particularly that of spiritual, religious, philosophical, or psychedelic nature, we can open up the valve of our consciousness and let in a more substantial flow, seeing reality for what it is, or what he referred to as the suchness of reality. In doing so, we obtain an awareness, beyond thoughts, beyond symbols, beyond concepts. Objects cease to be objects. The boundaries of the plural world dissolve. Time folds in on itself. Nothing becomes knowable, in the sense that everything becomes knowable. Huxley writes, "To be shaken out of the ruts of ordinary perception, to be shown for a few timeless hours the outer and inner world, not as they appear to an animal obsessed with survival or to a human being obsessed with words and notions, but as they are apprehended directly and unconditionally by mind at large. This is an experience of inestimable value to anyone. Ultimately, regardless of what is true, regardless of the accuracy of Huxley's theories and advocacies, and regardless of whether perennialism points to some fundamental nature of reality, all these ideas and reflections are extremely intriguing and important. They remind us that there is always something beneath the surface that we all share but can't quite know or put our finger on. Aquifers of possibility and potential revelation that, even if only for brief moments, can be tapped into and tasted. These possibilities compel us to question the very nature and malleability of our minds and its relationship with the world. And perhaps most importantly, if we follow the train of thought conducted by Huxley, we might arrive somewhere in the vicinity of some kind of enlightenment, as he referred to it. An increasing dissolvement of the self and a greater embrace of the suchness of reality, as it is, in full form. Its apparent goodness and badness, pain and pleasure, beauty and ugliness. In the words of Huxley, to be enlightened is to be aware, always, of total reality and its immanent otherness, to be aware of it and yet remain in a condition to survive as an animal. Our goal is to discover that we have always been where we ought to be. These reflections about the mind, perception, and the strangeness of being are central to my upcoming book, The Terrible Paradox of Self-Awareness. It comes out March 2026 and is available for pre-order now. And on that note, there is at least one other mode of experience that can offer mind-opening, consciousness-altering effects. One that Huxley never explicitly mentioned, though he alluded to it: creativity. And this video sponsor, Storyblocks, makes engaging in and tapping into the creative process profoundly accessible and versatile. Fundamentally, Storyblocks is a platform that offers unlimited access to high-quality stock videos, images, music, sound effects, and more. Effectively, however, it turns the world of images, videos, templates, and audio into an ever-expanding digital collage studio, constantly refreshed and added to, which you can pull from and piece different assets together, creating wholly novel artworks or supplementing your existing work. Whether it's a short film that needs B-roll, an After Effects animation that needs a foundation, a YouTube video that needs sound effects, or a project that needs essentially everything besides your vision. The best part, unlike other traditional stock platforms, Storyblocks uses an unlimited model where you can download as much as you want for one consistent subscription price. That means if you don't end up using something, it doesn't cost you anything. And everything is created by real artists who agree to share their work, 100% royalty-free, pre-licensed, and ready to use. So you can be confident you're incorporating everything ethically and legally. Personally, I can't speak highly enough of Storyblocks. Both on and off the channel, it's continued to make bringing visions to life streamlined, professional, and, most importantly, exciting and unrestrained. To get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/wonder or click the link in the description. And of course, as always, thank you so much for watching in general, and see you next video.